Part 288. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2878. Bai Shan and Zhou Man said, "A pharmacist has come to the door. The medical office has already cleaned up. When are you going back to the county?" Man Bao calculated the time when he came out, and found that he had been outside for nearly a decade, so he sighed, "It's been a long way, that's all, I'll go back tomorrow." Bai Shan nodded, "When you're in the county seat, help me keep an eye on Song Master." He said, "During this time, I found that the grain seeds distributed by the previous household, the rice seeds and other bean seeds are fine, and the wheat seeds are basically given to the tenants of the Song family and the Song clan, but some remote villages are basically no new grains can be distributed." He said, "The situation improved when the county magistrate Lu was there, but judging from the villages I have visited during this time, most of the new wheat seeds are still concentrated among those surnames." Man Bao asked, "Aren't the rice and bean seeds purchased by the Yamen bad?" "It's not that it's bad, it's just that I don't know how well it can adapt to the environment." Bai Shan obviously has a lot of research on farming, and said, "The yield of grains in a place will become more stable after a long period of circulation. If you want to improve, you need to try to grow grains from other places, maybe the grains from other places can be extended to produce grains with higher yields. This is one of the reasons why Sinong Temple and the Ministry of Household insist on sending grains to Yamen in various places. But the people who farm the land don't want to take this risk," Bai Shan said. "So, it's not only the rice seeds distributed by the Yamen, but also the new wheat seeds given to them. Most of them eat them, or they plant the seeds they left behind." Bai Shan had some headaches. Farmers obviously trust their own judgment more than the Yamen's. Of course, Bai Shan can't say that they are wrong, because some grains do not adapt to the local climate after sowing, and thus become very low yield. The people are reluctant to take this risk. The Song family and those families obviously had information from other channels. They knew that the new wheat varieties were good, so they used other methods to allocate a lot of them. Even if the situation improved after the county magistrate Lu took office, he couldn't take it right away. Live down so many miles. The county magistrate administers the county, in fact, it is more to govern the locality in accordance with the local situation, and to improve the situation within the space that can be manipulated. Before the release, Yang Heshu once discussed this matter in correspondence with him. "Throughout the ages, I don't know how many smart people are amazing when they read, and they are like a duck in water when they are in the court. But once they get there, they are not smart. Or are they not knowledgeable enough to govern the place? No, it's just that they did more than the local situation could bear, so they failed." Yang Heshu knew that the emperor wanted to cultivate Bai Shan, and although there were many problems in Dajin, the biggest problem was the land. In recent years, the population has grown rapidly due to the national security and peace, and several generations of children have grown up after the national stability. In some places, the existing cultivated land has been almost divided. In addition, the local aristocrats, gentry, and aristocratic families will try their best to encircle them. Therefore, land and taxation are the main contradictions in the current Dajin. Involving land, if you are not careful, you will die. Therefore, the relationship between county magistrates and local nobles should not be completely opposed. If they cannot complement each other, they must adapt to the situation. Therefore, even if he knew that these wealthy families in Bihai County were tricky in the distribution of grains, Bai Shan had no intention of pursuing them. Instead, ignore the past and focus on the future. Bai Shandao, this time, the amount of grains distributed by the county government is reversed from the past. In order to ensure that these grains can finally reach the people, I should be in the countryside next time. I don't know what each family is about this allocation. React, so you have to take care of it." Man Bao responded with a sip, "No problem." Man Bao deserved to be forthright. After returning, he went to see Master Song, which made Master Song's back go cold. He couldn't help but ask the corners of his mouth, "Sir, is this?" Man Bao showed his standard 8 teeth, and complimented him with a hypocritical smile, looking at the master bookkeeper Song, "He has lost weight. It seems that this time has been very hard." Master Song couldn't help rubbing his stomach, "Is it okay? Harui has a lot of things to do, so it's more exhausting." Man Bao then suggested, "In spring, there is a lot of phlegm and dampness, so Master Song still eats less meat and more vegetables. Haven't many wild vegetables been popping up recently? Don't look at it bitter, it is very effective in nourishing the body." Master Song did not want to eat wild vegetables, which were only eaten by the hungry and the poor, but since Joe Man said so, he agreed with a smile, but he did not intend to eat them. After Man Bao stared at him, he began to talk about business. "I heard Master Bai say that your county government has a batch of used tables, chairs, and stools. Are they still in the warehouse? Our medical department wants them." Master Song, "Sir, those tables and chairs are missing arms and legs. Why do you feel so wronged? Just buy new ones. You pay." Master Song stopped talking. If only 1 or 2 sets of desks and chairs would be fine, but at the medical office. I also know that it can't be done with 1 or 2 sets, wood and woodworking, that's a lot. Seeing that he didn't speak, Man Bao sighed and said, "The medical office has to buy medicine next. I have no money, so I can save a little bit. That set of tables and chairs is useless for your county government, so they gave it to our doctor. Sign it." Master Song said helplessly, "Sir, I can't control this matter alone, why don't I wait for Master Bai to come back?" Man Bao waved his hand and said, "He has already agreed before coming back. If you don't believe me, go ask Daji and the others. If you think they are my family's guards, you will lean towards me, then you can ask Zhao Wu." Zhao Wu was the yaman assigned by Bai Shan to Zhou Man. He spoke a lot, but he also knew a lot of dialects. There are different pronunciations in Qingzhou, but he can speak those dialects. With him, Zhou Man can communicate with anyone without a problem, and he has also learned a lot of local languages. Master Song was choked, and then woke up. Zhou Man and Bai Shan were husband and wife. Who else could Bai Shan turn to if he didn't turn to her? Master Song touched his nose and could only say, "Okay." Man Bao also didn't see the outside, and directly greeted the yaman in the upper yard, "Let's go, help me carry some tables and chairs." The warehouse was opened, and there were a lot of things piled up inside, including many tables and chairs. Man Bao looked at them and saw that some of the tables and chairs were indeed unstable, and some were missing arms and legs, but many of them just had some scratches. "Also moved here." Man Bao took a look, waved his hand, and asked for it all. Master Song twitched the corners of his mouth. The warehouse was open. He didn't care about some broken tables and chairs and Zhou Man, but that was too much, right? He said, "Master Zhou, does your medical department use so much?" Man Bao said, "It's definitely possible. In the future, there will be more people coming to see a doctor, and maybe there will be patients living in the medical office. All these things are needed." When the tables and chairs were finished, Man Bao reached the tarpaulin piled in the corner and went over to look over it. Master Song suddenly felt bad. Sure enough, Zhou Menyi stood up and said, "This oilcloth is all dusty here, so give it to me too." Master Song, "Sir, what do you want the tarpaulin to do?" "Blocking herbs, there are too many uses. Anyway, they are all old. You are also putting them away. Why don't you use them for me? See you tomorrow." Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2879. Master Song watched helplessly as Zhou Man led a group of yamen to carry away, and waited until they were far away before he realized that he was still in the yamen. Even if Lord Bai agreed to send the old things in the warehouse to the medical office, but none of the county yaman's yaman went to the medical office. Man Bao has already led people back down the alley in a mighty way. The still deserted medical office became lively in an instant. Man Bao asked people to put the tables and chairs brought in the yard, and Mei, who came to worry about it, said, "First pick out the good tables and chairs, wipe them clean and put them in different places. In the consultation room, for the rest of the missing arms and legs, knock off the legs of the tables and chairs that also lack arms and legs, and place them in the cleaned rooms." "Mei, miss, we don't understand woodworking at all." Man Bao waved his hand and said, "What's so difficult, isn't it just a simple installation of legs? Just knock it down and install it. If there are any gaps, put some wooden strips in it, and if it can't be inserted, cut off some." Although it's not wrong to say that, Mei always felt that there might be a problem with the legs that were pretended like this. After thinking about it, she still said, "Miss, let's invite a carpenter to take a look, and don't you want to make some small beds?" Man Bao thought about the medical office's money bag, and reluctantly agreed. She is the oldest in the medical office, and she is the only official, so she can directly instruct her to do anything, which makes Man Bao, who is used to finding someone to discuss, very unaccustomed. So she said, "Tell Fang Xiancheng, post a notice, I want to recruit officers. The medical department needs staff, there are not many places, only 2, and there are doctors and pharmacists in the medical department, but they must be doctors and people who are proficient in medical and medicinal materials. And now Joe Man needs officials to handle the chores of the medical department, and it is best to know how to manage people and accounts." Man Bao thought for a while, and then went to the medical office to free it up. He wrote an official document in the study without 2 books. After the ink was dry, he handed it over to the clerk of the county government, and said, "Send it to Qingzhou immediately. Find the county magistrate Lu said that I want to make a list to recruit talented people, and the examination will be held in Bihai County in half a month. Please send this announcement to the counties in the name of the provincial governor." The Yaman responded, but he didn't dare to leave immediately. Instead, he ran back to the county Yat to ask Song Master to make up his mind. After all, Zhou Man was an official of the medical department, and he was a soldier of the county Yat. As a result, he only entered the gate of the county government office, and before he could find Song's chief clerk, he first met Fang Xiancheng. After reading the announcement, Fang Xiancheng said, "Send it away, go to Qingzhou now, and come back before dark." The Yaman took the official document and ordered to leave. Fang Xiancheng watched him lead the horse out of the county office, and then turned back to the office with his hands behind his back. Seeing Fang Xiancheng, Master Song smiled and said, "Mr. Fang, most of the people in this county have run away. Even if there is no distinction between Lord Bai and Lord Zhou, you can't do this, right?" He said, "The medical department is short of staff. I think it's better to send some officials over there, so that every time Lord Zhou needs to use people, he will come to our county government office to borrow." Fang Xiancheng said, "This is a matter of the Qingzhou medical office. Our Bihai county government is only responsible for cooperating, and has no right to manage." "This is also my suggestion," Song Master said. The medical department was only established. It was at a time when there was an urgent need for manpower. Master Bai and Master Zhou did not distinguish each other. People from the county government used to use Master Zhou easily. Fang Xiancheng said, "Master Song can go and ask Lord Zhou." Master Song thought about it, and really thought about asking Zhou Man. Zhou Man refused directly. She said, "Your county yaman officials are all used to the county yaman's affairs, and suddenly transferred to my small yaman because I'm afraid of discomfort, so that's all." Zhou Man was still a little puzzled. "I have asked the county government to recruit talents. Why, didn't the Song clerk see my announcement?" "Master Song, he didn't see it, and no one told him." Just as he was talking, Zibing came in and reported, "Miss, the shopkeepers of Baikatang and Renhitang are here, as well as 2 medicine dealers." Man Bao got up immediately, "Please come to the lobby to sit for a while, I'll be right here." She turned her head and said to Master Song, "Master Song, we are all our own people. You can visit the medical office as you like, and I won't accompany you anymore." "Master Song, what is there worth seeing in such an empty medical office? And why are they their own? Would my own people not even know that she made an announcement to recruit talents?" Seeing that Zhou Man got up and was about to leave, Master Song quickly stopped her and said, "Master Zhou, shall I go with you?" With a worried look on his face, he said, "The merchants value profits, and they are very cunning. You are new here. If no one is in the queue, I am afraid that you will be trapped." Man Bao said with a pure face, "No, people who can do medicine, if nothing else, have a kind heart, how can they trick me?" She said, "I treat people with sincerity, and the other party will naturally return me to be sincere." Master Song. Man Bao turned around and went out with a kind face, put away the smile on his face when he left the door, and went to the lobby with a serious face. There were 4 people sitting in the lobby, and they were no strangers to each other, so while Zhou Man hadn't come, everyone held tea and inquired about each other, "Why is Mr. Zhao here? I heard that Mr. Zhou came to Bihai County for diagnosis and treatment. The patient is taking medicine in your Baikatang, I don't know how the other party's condition is." Shopkeeper Zhao laughed and said, "That's Lord Zhou's patient. We just follow the prescription to take medicine. How can we know the patient's condition? I heard that Dr. Xiao of Renhitang was the first doctor in Bihai County who had seen Lord Zhou." Lord Zhou opened a pair of begging soup. The shopkeeper Shi of Renhitang snorted and said, "Don't you, Dr. Tian from 100 Herbs Hall also prescribed a tonic soup for Lord Zhou?" The 2 pharmacists hurriedly said, "Don't be angry, the 2 shopkeepers, it's all a misunderstanding. No one thought that Master Zhou would pretend to be a patient and walk around the county, right? And the medicines the 2 doctors prescribed are not wrong. Zhou, the adults do not have children yet, so it would be a good idea to prescribe a soup for the child, and the soup is even better to eat. By the way, I heard that Master Zhou asked the prices of many commonly used medicines in the pharmacy when he bought medicine at that time." Just as they were talking, the 4 of them heard footsteps, immediately closed their voices, and sat up. Zhou Man came in with a light smile, and the 4 of them stood up and saluted as soon as they saw her. Zhou Man accepted it calmly, raised his hand slightly and said, "Please sit down, 4 of you." She sat down on the first seat, cut to the chase, and said to them directly, "Today I invited the 4 to discuss the purchase of medicinal materials by the medical office." Man Bao looked at the cake. Zibing came over with 4 sheets of paper, which listed the medicine list and the amount that Zhou Man needed to purchase. She said with a smile, "I think the 4 of you must have guessed before coming here, so I won't go into details. Everyone directly write down the unit price you can give against the drug list, and I will look at the purchase." 4 people, don't we stop greeting each other? They could actually talk a little more. See you at 6 p.m. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2880. The 4 of them took the order from the cakes and couldn't help turning their heads to look at each other. Unfortunately, there was a table between them, but there were more tables between them, so they couldn't understand each other's meaning from each other's eyes. Zhou Man also prepared a pen and ink for them with special consideration, and said with a smile, "I think you always know the price of your own medicine, right? Let's make a price." The pharmacist Mr. Huan coughed lightly, "Master Zhou, this matter is very important. I think I have to go back and discuss it with the steward first." Why don't you bring this list back to me for more details? Man Bao's face was solemn, and he said seriously, I have been working hard for the past few days to let more people in Bihai County know about the existence of the medical department. Now the reputation of the medical department is barely known, so in order not to let the people know disappointed, the medical office has to be set up as soon as possible. Today, I must decide on the medicinal materials. If Mr. Huang can't make the decision, he can leave. After seeing the four, I have to meet the people from Qingzhou. The four of them couldn't help but look at each other, feeling a little uneasy in their hearts. Are there people from Qingzhou? If they shouldn't be here, Zhou Man and the people in Qingzhou have reached a cooperation. Will there be a place for them in the medical department in the future? Although the medical office is set up in Bihai County, it is the medical office of the whole Qingzhou. Even if there are no large-scale diseases, only the seasonal changes can consume a lot of medicinal materials, not to mention Zhou Man's reputation. I am afraid that people from outside Qingzhou will also come to seek medical treatment. It's all money. The shopkeeper Shi and the shopkeeper Zhao, who are the shopkeepers of the drugstore, know this truth, not to mention the two drug dealers. The four of them looked at each other again, and finally someone couldn't help but pick up a pen and write down a unit price behind a medicine. Because they were far away, they couldn't see each other, and because they couldn't see it, the other three felt instantly in their hearts. When one person starts pricing, the others can only pick up the pen. When they finally came out of the lobby, they were all in a trance. The three of them approached, and the four recognized them. They were all refreshed, with perfect smiles on their faces, and they saluted each other and said, Master Huang is here too. Master Fang came here from Qingzhou on purpose. The two groups of people met in the yard and said a few words, then Mr. Fang and the others went to the lobby to meet Zhou Man, while Mr. Huang and the others left. The four watched them enter the lobby, and the shopkeeper Shi sighed, the medicine dealer from Qingzhou is really here. Master Huang said, this Lord Zhou is more convenient than other orders. Mr. Huang is in the business of medicinal materials. Although the business is not very big, there are a few medicinal materials that the pharmacists from all over the world will buy from him, so the information is more well informed. There are now more than 30 local medical bureaus in operation, and each of them faces enormous challenges. Getting along with the local yamen is one, and communicating with local pharmacists and drug stores is naturally another. Zhou Man was the most successful. After only a few days, he went to the countryside to promote the work, and the medical department could still be built. Another pharmacist, Master Peng, had some doubts. Didn't Master Zhou and Master Bai go to the countryside during this time? Who invited the pharmacy from Qingzhou? Could it be that they came from the wind? Of course, the pharmacist in Qingzhou was invited by Bai Shan and Zhou Man together. However, Bai Shan sent Lu Gui to the city of Qingzhou to release all kinds of rumors before he went to the countryside. Zhou Man, on the other hand, wrote directly to the county magistrate Lu, saying that she felt that Qingzhou had an outstanding location and an excellent location. Since the new governor has not yet arrived, she will temporarily set the medical office in Bihai County. After all, for well-known reasons, the support she received in Bihai County would also be the greatest. The county magistrate Lu, who received the letter, understood what she knew, and she didn't need to open her mouth again step by step. He directly replied to her and told her that he would urge the officials on the prefect's side to give her the greatest support. So Zhou Manke returned to the county town for 2 days. As soon as the county magistrate in Qingzhou heard about it, he immediately let the pharmacists who heard the wind and their hearts go over. The pharmacists and shopkeepers of the pharmacy, Mr. Fang, were very moved when they heard that the medical office was going to purchase medicinal materials. No matter how they benefited from the support of the county magistrate of Duxian Road, they would have to participate, so they rushed to Bihai County long ago. It's just that the people from the medical department said that Zhou Man is currently busy, so they arranged to meet in the afternoon. Just after entering the door, they met the familiar shopkeeper Shi, Mr. Zhao, Mr. Huang, and others. Mr. Fang and their hearts were also very uneasy. So when everyone bargained over the price of medicine, Mr. Fang and the three of them always had a heart, for fear that the price would be too high and Joe Man would not be satisfied, so they would switch to another company. The price is slightly higher than the psychological minimum price. After listening to these quotations, Man Bao's expression did not change much. He went back and forth to discuss the quantity of some medicinal materials, and finally suppressed the price. Finally, Mr. Fang smiled bitterly, "Master Zhou, your price is really wonderful, even some old shopkeepers can't lower the price like this." Man Bao then said with a smile, "My medical department is not just a pharmacy, it is dealing with patients in the entire Qingzhou, and needs a lot of medicinal materials, and there is cooperation between the medical departments. Now the Qingzhou Medical Department is tentatively scheduled in Bihai County. I might go to Qingzhou City another day, Mizhu above Qingzhou, Leizhu below, especially Leizhu, which borders Bihai County. Leizhu people are not far from here, are they coming? Will the hospital still kick people out?" He added, "When the Qingzhou Medical Office becomes operational in the future, Mizhu and Leizhu will also open medical offices." Master Fang and the others responded in a row. If Zhou Man hadn't expressed this, they wouldn't have given it to her so easily and given it to her at such a low price. If this promise was made by other medical departments, they would certainly not believe it, but this was expressed by Zhou Man. Compared with the shopkeepers of some drug stores, the drug dealers with relatively large business like Mr. Fang have a better understanding of current affairs and better information. The establishment of the Imperial Physician Office was done by Zhou Man, and there was news from the big drug dealers that Zhou Man's release this time was to prepare for the subsequent large-scale establishment of local medical offices. The pharmacists are not very interested in any land policy, and they don't care much about Bai Shan's expatriation as a county magistrate. In contrast, Zhou Man's expatriation as an order from the medical department is a major event in the Xinglan world. Unlike drug stores and hospitals that are facing enemies, for drug dealers, the establishment of local medical offices is a matter of cooperation and competition. This is an opportunity for all of them. That's why they came so quickly. If it wasn't for Zhou Man, who was in the country before and changed places every day, they would all want to chase them. See you at 9. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2881. Zhou Man personally sent the person to the door of the medical office, and said with a smile, "I made a reservation in the Dashun Pavilion, and I also invited Fang Xiancheng to accompany me. How about we discuss this medicinal material in detail in the evening?" Master Fang glanced at the two competitors and partners, and nodded with a smile, "It is better to be respectful than to obey." When they were all gone, Man Bao let out a breath and said to Mei, "I have been walking around with my neighbors recently, and I have also visited the county town. When I look back at the medical office, I need to choose a few capable assistants. Especially for the doctors." Mei said, "Miss, that must be a medicine boy, right?" Man Baidao, "The division of labor can be more detailed, and some things that do not need to be done by medicine boys can also be used after training. It is more difficult to distinguish the medicinal materials from the medicines, the processing of medicinal materials, etc. It must be done by a person who is a medicine boy apprentice or above, but other chores can be hired." But Mei said, "Miss, your medical department has to have patients before you invite them. Didn't you say that the medical department doesn't have much money? You are still spending so much, you are not afraid that it will be even tighter in the future?" Man Bao said confidently, "There are no patients now, and there will be in a few days. Talents must be cultivated first, otherwise there will be more patients coming back, not only busy, but also many things, and then there will be no time to deal with these things." Wu felt that what she said made sense, so she nodded, "Don't worry, ma'am, I'll go to the county town tomorrow. Man Bao is satisfied. In the evening, I took the cakes to the Dashun restaurant for dinner. She invited Fang Xiancheng to accompany her. The people she saw today, Mr. Huang and the shopkeeper she, also invited over. Even the two doctors who were sitting in the 100 Herbs Hall and Renhe Hall also invited over. There was a discussion about medicine. This time, Ji Shitang from Qingzhou also sent a shopkeeper. Because of natural reasons, Ji Shitang also stood on Zhou Man's side. Therefore, when talking about drug prices today, Ji Shitang's shopkeeper Zheng paid the price directly. The lowest price is not negotiable. Taking the words of Ji Shitang, Man Bao and the shopkeepers of the three pharmacies said, the original intention of the medical office is to help the world, not to compete with the private medical centers and drug stores for the source of the disease. Xiao Yuan and I both hope to be able to cooperate with local medical centers. The pharmacy will make a total profit and a win-win situation. Even Your Majesty, I also hope that the world's medical and pharmacy stores are everywhere, and everyone can go to the medical pharmacy to see a doctor when they get sick. She said, in the final analysis, the medical department is mainly aimed at the poor people, and these people may have looked down on doctors once in their lives in the past, so this aspect has little impact on the medical department's pharmacy. As for the dignitaries, the rich, the group of the nobility. Man Bao smiled and said, the medical department does not offer discounts to those who can afford medical treatment. So, where they choose to seek medical treatment, naturally it can only be because of medical skills. She said, I have already sent a letter to Xiao Yuan Zheng, requesting that the officers of the local medical offices communicate more with the doctors of the local medical offices and pharmacies, so as to learn and improve together. When it comes to medical skills, even though I am a good student, comprehensive, but medical skills may not be as good as a few, let alone crouching tigers and hidden dragons. There are few doctors in the world with good medical skills. Everyone heard that they were relieved, especially the shopkeepers and doctors of Ji Shitang, Bai Kaitang, and Ren Hitang, and their worries instantly disappeared a lot. The shopkeeper Zheng of Jes Etang in Qingzhou lowered his eyes and thought, no wonder there have been rumors in the capital that they will do their best to support Lord Zhou. It seems that the capital has reached a consensus. Shopkeeper Shi and shopkeeper Zhao looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. Even Fang Xiancheng hinted, with Lord Bai here, what are you worried about? Lord Bai is our Bihai County's parental official, so he wants to be our Bihai County. Shopkeeper Shi and shopkeeper Zhao grinned on their faces, but hummed in their hearts, these people are important, isn't the person next to them important? However, Zhou Man's words still gave them a lot of peace of mind, so they all toasted and took a sip. Zhou Man took advantage of the situation and asked, how many days will it take to prepare the medicinal materials set by the medical department? Several people looked at each other, and Master Fang was the first to say, I can prepare it for the adults in 3 days. The others immediately said, I can prepare it in 3 days. The matter of medicine was settled in this way, and Man Bao was content to prepare for other matters. She was very generous, and hired 3 helpers for the medical department in one breath, specializing in chores such as cleaning and cooking. As soon as the medicinal materials arrived, she filled the county town's notices, bought 2 firecrackers and set them off in front of the door, and then concentrated on waiting for the patient to come. But she held her chin and waited in the hospital for 2 days and no one came, not a single patient. She felt that it must be because everyone didn't know that the hospital was opened, so when she asked the watchman to start the watch, she banged the gong and shouted that the hospital was officially accepting patients. 2 days later, no one came, but Man Bao went to see Dewa 3 times, and asked Dewa to help her promote it in the neighborhood. However, after half a 10-day period, there were only Man Bao and Dajik Sibing in the medical office with big eyes and small eyes. Mei came over with a feather duster and patted the dust all the way, and stood behind Zhou Man and sighed, Miss, no one, do those 3 helpers want them to come next month? Man Bao. She hesitated a bit, frowned and asked, "Why is there no one? We used to say in the capital that there is no need for money to see a doctor. As long as everyone comes to see it, if they are not sick, they have to queue up for the imperial doctor of our imperial hospital to touch it. Who knows this?" He was sighing when the sound of horse hooves came from outside the gate. Joe Man jumped up when he heard the sound, and ran out. When he ran outside the gate, he happened to see Bai Shan throwing the horsewhip in his hand to the guard, turning around and striding towards her. Man Bao saw that he was dressed in blue clothes, and the hem was stained with soil, but he had not seen him for 10 days. Footsteps, standing on the steps staring blankly at him. Bai Shan smiled and hurried up the steps. Seeing that she looked at him in a daze, he raised his hand and scratched her nose twice, and asked with a smile, "I'm already standing in front of you, what are you thinking about?" Seeing the smile on his face, Man Bao didn't feel that the difficulties he encountered were difficulties. "Let's go home, I have a lot to tell you." Bai Shan nodded, "I also have a lot to say to you." The two stopped riding horses at all, and walked back through the alley holding hands. Bai Shan first told her, "Everywhere I go, I tell the villagers that the Qingzhou medical office is going to be located in Bihai County, let them come to the city to find you when they are sick." Then he told her very excitedly, "I saw the sea." His eyes were bright, and he looked down at Man Baodao as if filled with stars. Can you imagine? Looking up, it seems that there is sea water all the way to the horizon, bigger than every big lake I've ever seen, with high tides. Sometimes the waves are so big that they seem to be able to roll people to the bottom of the sea. See you tomorrow. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2882. Bai Shan was obviously very excited, and he described the sea all the way to Joe Man. When he got home and washed up, he talked to Joe Man about business affairs. The sea is beautiful, but people living by the sea are very hard. He said, "I walked by the sea for 3 days, and every village I visited was even poorer than Zayajiagu." He lowered his voice and said, "The house is low and shabby, and the medical treatment is not covered. I have asked, they are fishing all year round, and when the harvest is the most abundant, lucky merchants buy salted fish. They buy salted fish every year. Their income is only about 200 yuan per capita. You know, the fishermen by the sea basically have no land, and they all rely on fishing and chopping firewood for the salt farm to cook sea salt for a living, so they have to buy food." Man Bao was surprised. "That's even when the grain is 10 cents a bucket, they don't have enough food." Bai Shan nodded, "That's right, so they go hungry for half a year, and they can't get enough to eat at all." "Isn't there a salt field?" Man Bao frowned. "How much does the salt field cost a day?" Bai Shan glanced at her and said, 9 to 12 a day, but they still have a small family. "I'm calculating the average income." "Then 9 to 12 when is too low," Man Bao said. "In those days, your family paid 20 yuan a day to build a house, and 25 yuan for good craftsmanship." "Bai Shan, how old were you at that time, how can you remember?" Man Bao said proudly, "I have an account book. At that time, my fourth brother lost money in the bet, and there was no money in the family, so I remember every penny earned in the family during that time." Her memory doesn't remember these things, but her ledger does. Sure enough, a good memory is not as good as a bad writing. Man Bao asked him, "Then what are you going to do?" "Since they can't make anything from the land, they can only make it from the sea." Bai Shan nodded, "I think so too, but in the sea, I can only think of fish and these things at the moment. I have to meet with the merchants who buy salted fish before making a decision." Man Bao asked excitedly, "When will you go to the beach again?" "I'm going to." Bai Shan smiled, "Aren't you staying at the medical office?" Man Bao's shoulders slumped, "There are no patients in the hospital." She sighed, "I don't know why, I have told people all over the county to beat gongs and drums, and I also asked Fang Xiancheng to send documents to each Lijhan, and let them notify the villages under their respective jurisdictions, but still nothing. People come to seek medical attention. Bai Shan hesitated, then are you going out for a free clinic? He lowered his voice and said softly, I don't think those fishermen by the sea are in good health. Man Bao instantly sat upright, nodded again and again, with a look of approval, yes, I'm going to a free clinic. Bai Shan laughed instantly, rolled up his legs comfortably and sat cross-legged on the couch, and said with a smile, then you are ready, and I will go with you when I handle the official business of the county Yelai. Man Bao nodded happily. Bai Shan is not in the county government office, and he has accumulated few affairs recently, but not a lot. Most of the county magistrates can handle it for him, and the rest are waiting for him to come back and make up his mind. Bai Shan spends half a day dealing with these official duties, and then takes an hour every day to go to court to deal with the accumulated cases, and the rest of the time is to meet various people. There are various merchants in Bihai County, as well as the Song family and the Li family, which are relatively large nobles in Bihai County. 3 days later, Bai Shan packed up his things, and took the Song master bookkeeper and Dong Xianwei together to go to the countryside. Dong Xianwei, who has only been back for 3 days and feels that his butt is still hot. Master Song was also in a trance, and touched his face before Bai Shan took office. Before Bai Shan took office, he had been in the countryside for nearly a decade, and even in spring, people almost peeled from the sun. Magistrate Bai also loves going to the countryside too much, right? What's so good about the country? Shouldn't you compete with Fang Xiancheng for the power of the county government? Running to the countryside all day, most of the affairs are left to the county magistrate. Who is the magistrate of the two of you? Bai Shan Zheng talked to Fang Xiancheng. I took a look. We only have one salt field in Bihai County, but the amount of salt produced is not high, so that the wages for cooking salt are also very low. Fang Xiancheng seemed to have been waiting for Bai Shan to ask, and said, the salt farm is in charge of the director of Song, and when the county magistrate was there, he reported back that there were few mountains, forests, and trees, so the scale of cooking salt was limited, so the amount of salt produced was not large. Hi. Fang Xiancheng paused and said, Sir, the salt production in the salt farms has not been high. From the previous dynasty, after the efforts of the county magistrates in these years, it has actually increased. Now Bihai County has 60% of the finances. It depends on the sale of official salt, and the remaining 40% depends on various taxes. It can be said that the ratio is very unhealthy. Bai Shan raised his eyebrows and asked, how much did it grow? Why did it grow? He smiled slightly, I found a way to grow, maybe we can make him grow longer. Fang Xiancheng lowered his eyes and said, as the cooking pot grows, it will naturally grow. Bai Shan. This kind of growth without any technical content is the last thing Bai Shan wants to see. He stretched out his fingers and rubbed his forehead, and said, forget it, let's check the accounts of the salt field first. Bai Shandao said, when I took Lieutenant Dong and Chief Bookkeeper Song out, the county magistrate Lao Fang was very troubled. He checked the accounts of the salt works and reported them to me. Fang Xiancheng was stunned for a moment, and when he saw Bai Shan got up to leave, he couldn't help but stand up, Sir. Fang Xiancheng stopped him, frowned and thought for a while, but he couldn't help but hint, Your Excellency means to check the accounts of the salt field? But the accounts of the salt field have always been in charge of the head bookkeeper Song. But Master Song will go to the beach with me tomorrow. We won't be able to come back for at least a 10-day period. Since Fang Xiancheng is staying at the county office, he will work harder if he can, and check the accounts of the salt field. Bai Shan turning around to look at him, he said meaningfully, I've seen it before. The coastline of Bihai County is very long, and it is absolutely possible to set up several more salt fields. Why stick to one? Fang Xiancheng lowered his eyes and said, the magistrate Lu thought the same thing before he left. He has already sent someone to set up a salt field in the area of Dajiawa. It's a pity that it was only half built, and the forest near Dajiawa caught fire. He said, the mountain fire has destroyed a lot of trees. Even if the salt field in Dajiawa is built, there will not be enough firewood to cook the salt, so this matter is put on hold. Bai Shan's face sank. He didn't know about this. He asked, when did this happen? 2 years ago, Fang Xiancheng said, the salt field was stopped for more than a year, and the magistrate Lu saw that a lot of new trees had grown on the mountain, and he wanted to restart the salt field. Who knew that Qingzhou would undergo great changes, and the magistrate Lu was arrested. He was promoted to Yuta County. Although they are all magistrates, Yuta County is Qingzhou Guo County, or Shang County, and the official rank is half a rank higher. This is an unexpected promotion. Otherwise, according to the qualifications of Lu County magistrate, he will have to work in Bihai County for another 3 years. Will move up and leave. In 3 years, maybe he really got a good fight with the local gentry. See you at 6 p.m. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2883. Fang Xiancheng raised his head to look at Bai Shan. It can be said that the county magistrate Lu was very happy to leave, but Fang Xiancheng was the only one who was a little unhappy. Seeing that his talent was not under the magistrate Lu, the magistrate Bai was not sure. He chose to ask the salt field at this time, did he want to seize power, or did he want to do something else? Bai Shan sighed in his heart, and felt that it was not the right time for Lu County magistrate to be promoted. It turned out that when Leizhou and Qingzhou were fighting fiercely, Bihai County was fighting with each other. It is no wonder that the officials of Qingzhou and Leizhou were wiped out after the Eastern expedition, and the county magistrate not only saved himself, but also got promoted. Even the gentry under their control had nothing to do, because they were struggling to compete for the salt field, and they had no time to manage the supply lines of grain, grass, and medicinal materials passing by. Bai Shan suppressed the complexities in his heart, and said solemnly to Fang Xiancheng, just check it out, I will bear it in front of you if there is anything. Since the income of the existing salt field is so low, it may be a good idea to open a salt field in another place. Method. He said, after all, this salt production line has always existed from the previous dynasty to the present, maybe because the brine has been dug up. Fang Xiancheng. However, he could see Bai Shan's determination. Although his excuse was not very good, it was very likely that he would be refuted by everyone as soon as he said it, but Fang Xiancheng still accepted it. Seeing that Fang Xiancheng was willing to check the accounts, Bai Shan turned around and left. He took away both Dong Xianwei and Song head bookkeeper. Master Song didn't quite understand why he went to the countryside to make such a mighty tour. As an honest official, shouldn't he be low-key and honest? As a result, Bai Shan not only brought the Yamen clerk, but also brought him and Dong Xianwei, and handed over the county government to Fang Xiancheng. As a county magistrate, you should not worry about your power being taken by the deputy. Take it. When he saw Zhou Man brought a carload of medicinal herbs and 3 guards and 2 girls, he became numb and couldn't help but quietly said to Dong Xianwei, didn't you say before that Master Bai has been to the seaside? I'm going again, I'm afraid it's not the drunkard's intention not to be in the bar. Wei Dongxian frowned and said, the seaside I went to is different this time. Last time I went to the Longwan area, this time I went to Dajiawa. As soon as he heard that it was everyone's depression, Master Song's brows and eyes jumped, but thinking that Bai Shan had already passed the Longwan side, it was normal to go to everyone's depression side, so he continued his topic and pointed his chin in Zhou Man's direction. Nodding a little, he lowered his voice and said, "What's the matter with the lady? I think the Lord is trying to please the beauty, right? Lieutenant Dong, old song, one day you will be bad at this mouth. Can you also arrange Master Bai and Master Zhou? These words come out of my mouth and into your ears. If you don't say it, who knows if I don't say it?" Lieutenant Dong Xian stayed away from him, and said angrily, "Then don't get into my ears." He said, "Do you understand if there are ears on the partition wall? We don't even have a wall here." Master Song stopped talking. Bai Shan helped Man Bao to get on the horse, and then got on his own horse and said to her, "Let's get on the horse quickly, and we should be able to reach everyone around the afternoon of Shenxi." Man Bao said, "That's why the fishermen at the seaside have produced good quality sea fish, and it's not easy to send them from the seaside to Qingzhou City. Although it only takes less than 2 hours to go from Bihai County to Qingzhou City, it is horseback riding. If you walk, it will take a day. If you go from the seaside to Bihai County, it will take a day and a night." Live. Bai Shan nodded and said, "Yes, so some of the larger restaurants in Qingzhou City will send people to go to the beach every once in a while. If there are good sea fish, they will be collected. In some big fishing villages along the coast, there are also some special errands. People, they will buy these sea fish at a low price, and then send them to Qingzhou City at a faster speed. I have asked, there are times when you make a lot of money, but there are times when you lose money. Some marine fish die because of the hot weather and environmental changes. Even if you add seawater to the bucket and send it to Qingzhou City, this kind of fish will die. It can't be sold for a price." Man Bao sighed, as expected, work is hard work, and doing business involves taking risks. She glanced back at the medicinal materials she had pulled, and whispered, "Official affairs are also dangerous. I've been thinking for the past 2 days, if I can't run the local medical office well and can't find a way out for the medical office, then I don't have the face to go back to the capital. Even if I go back to the capital, the official uniform I wear will no longer be able to be kept." Bai Shan smiled and said, "With me, I won't fail." He added, "Even if you fail, don't be afraid, I can earn money to support you as an official." Man Bao whispered, "I can also be a doctor to support you." The two rushed to Jiahua. Man Bao was the first to go to the sea, and Bai Shan waved his hands at Song Master and Dong Xianwei, "You first bring everyone into the village to find a place to live. Dong County Wei knows, don't disturb the people. If you have a room, you can put together a few rooms for everyone to live in. If not, we will live in the wild." Master Song's eyes widened and he was about to speak when he opened his mouth. He was dragged to the back by Wei Dong, who had already responded with a smile, "Don't worry, sir, we all understand that it won't disturb the people." Bai Shan took the herbs and luggage with them with confidence. She dragged Zhou Man to the beach, and excitedly said to her, "I'll take you there, the horse is here, the waves are too loud, I don't know, will it be shocking?" Master Song watched as the two of them went to the beach with their guards holding hands. He grabbed Captain Dong and said, he also said that it wasn't because of the drunkard's intention, not the wine. Lieutenant Dong turned around and left. "Let's go, let's settle down first." Master Song murmured, "What is there to see in the sea? If you want to see it, you can come by yourself. Why do you have to call us together?" He didn't want to go to the beach at all. He felt sticky, even with the wind blowing. When he went back, he felt that his skin was sticky with salt water. Wei Dong ignored him and kept walking towards the fishing village. Zhou Man and Bai Shan had heard the sound of the sea for a long time. It was a sound that Zhou Man had never heard before. There was the whining of the wind, the rushing of the water, and the crisp birdsong. Turning over the small dirt slope, a blue sea suddenly appeared in front of me. The wave slammed on the shore with a bang, and then rolled back the things on the beach. Man Bao stood on the small dirt slope and stared wide. He looked at it, and after a long while, he called out wow, and ran down toward the sea. Bai Shan followed behind her with a smile, and ran to the beach with her. He laughed loudly and asked, "How is it, isn't it shocking?" Man Bao was speechless and nodded fiercely. Not only Man Bao, but De Ji and the two guards also saw the sea for the first time, and they caught up with Zhou Man and Bai Shan, not to mention Zibing and Ji Yu. The two of them screamed, stepped on the beach, and exclaimed, "Sand got into the shoes." See you at 11 o'clock. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2884. Man Bao looked down at her shoes. She was riding a horse, so she was wearing boots today. She turned her head to look at Zibing and Juyu's shoes. She was envious. She also wanted to wear these small shoes. Bai Shan had already sat down on the beach, then started to take off his shoes and socks, and greeted Zhou Man, "It's fun to take off your shoes, the sand is soft and fine, like the stone sand we played by the river when we were kids. Not like mud." When Man Bao heard this, he sat down next to him, kicked off his shoes and took off his socks. Seeing it in September, she wanted to take it off, but the cake next to her had already kicked off her shoes and greeted her, "Take it off, wow, it's really soft, it feels a bit like sand in the desert, but not like." Man Bao was already chasing the tide with bare feet and a skirt. Bai Shan followed behind her and dug a lot of shells out of the sand to show her, "This kind is also very beautiful. I heard from the fishermen that the big ones can be eaten. But there is not much meat, so not many people will eat it." The two of them didn't look like they had seen the world very much. They were amazed when they saw a stone. Man Bao took out a stone as big as a head from the sea water, and exclaimed in amazement, "There are so many holes, why is this forming?" The two transported the stones to the beach, squatted and pondered for a while before saying, "It seems that some are connected, and some are not." Man Bao thought for a while and took a pearl hairpin from his head, "Try it?" Bai Shan glanced at it and said, "It's too expensive. You will have to pay for craftsmanship when you go back to inlay it. The craftsmen in Bihai County may not have such craftsmanship." He said, "Let's take it back, and try to find loose pearls when we go back." So the three guards behind Daji liked to carry a large stone. A group of people played by the beach until evening. The two of them walked farther and farther, and then they saw a fenced-in place by the beach. There were 3 low houses built in it. There were many large stoves in the fenced open space. Half-built. The enclosed area was also washed away for a while. Bai Shan stood outside and watched for a while, then pulled Zhou Man to go in. But the place where it broke down was on the other side. They could see it from a distance, but there was still a long way to go. The two walked for a while and didn't see the door, so they simply climbed over the wall and went in. Daji and the others silently hugged the stone and turned in. Juyu stood under the wall and stared at the cake and climbed up. She also turned around and reached out to her, "Come on, I'll pull you." Zhou Man had already jumped off the fence, patted the dirt on his skirt because a corner of his skirt was accidentally wet, and said to the cake on it, "Otherwise you will go to the beach to play and wait for us." Zibing has already pulled Juyu up. Both of them felt that it was so hard to get up. They had to go in anyway, so they shook their heads and refused. "We are going in." Everyone jumped in. Daji searched the house and said to Bai Shan, "There is nothing in the house, but there are some thatched beds, which should be left by the people who came to build the house in the past." Bai Shan and Zhou Man said, "This is the half-built salt field built by the county magistrate." Man Bao glanced around and said, "The mountain forest doesn't look like it was burned from a distance." Bai Shan said with a blank face, "The tree can grow back, but you can look at the size. The trunk of the tree has only grown for less than 2 years. They are ruthless. I don't know if I restart the salt field, I won't burn the mountain again." Man Bao frowned and said nothing. Bai Shan inspected the unfinished salt field, sighed and said, The county magistrate is also very hard, but after listening to the princes in the court and Tang Swexian Yang Swexian, the situation in Bihai County is good. Yes, it can be seen how many places outside are not under the control of the imperial court, but the local gentry and tycoons have the upper hand. Man Bao asked, this is an unchanging trend through the ages. If you want to break it with your own power, I'm afraid you can't do it, and you know that it is better to be controlled by the imperial court than by the local gentry. Bai Shan smiled and said, I know what you mean, so Brother Tang is right, we should improve the laws of the great Jin dynasty. If you don't talk about everything in this world, 70% to 80% of things can be done according to the laws. The world will not be chaotic. Daji, who followed behind them, couldn't help but reminded, Lord, Lady, it's not early, we should go back, you might as well think about the moment. This is a problem. Bai Shan sighed, I understand that the most important thing for cooking salt is firewood. Man Bao also looked at Qingshan and sighed, this green hill is still very beautiful, she said to Keek in her heart, no wonder you want me to include all plants. Your plants are missing so much, do you also have cooking salt? The reason? I remember you saying a long time ago that your salt is very cheap. Keek, host, I suggest you to search for the ancient method of making salt. In the future, the world doesn't need to worry about the condiments like salt, and you don't even need to worry about nutrient intake. As long as you are an intelligent creature, the Federation will guarantee your basic survival resources. No need to worry about salt or anything. Man Bao listened and yearned for it. She envied the world where Keek came from since she was a child. She wondered when they would be able to have 1/10 of theirs. Let's go, seeing her in a daze, Bai Shan took her by the hand and walked out, let's take a look at the nearby villages. Man Bao returned to his senses, and quickly climbed over the wall with him, jumped to the ground, and went back with Bai Shan. There is a fishing village on the edge of Dajiawa, which is very small, so it is called Zioa village. The village chief squeezed out 4 rooms for Bai Shan and the others, and when he saw them, he bowed and said, Sir, the hot water has been prepared for you. Do you think you should use it now, or use it after you have eaten it? He said again, the chicken was killed at home and it is being stewed. The adults can eat it after waiting. Bai Shan glanced at Master Song on the side, smiled and nodded, and went to wash up with Zhou Man first, then changed clothes and came out to eat. Bai Shan took the village chief to sit with him, and asked him about the conditions of the sea these days and the harvest last year. The village chief was a little cautious, but Bai Shan didn't care, and said to him, you will accompany the county to walk around tomorrow. Are there any people in the village who are ill or have old diseases? He pointed to Zhou Man and said, this is an order from the medical department. She came to the countryside for a free clinic. I will notify the people in the village tomorrow. If you feel unwell, you can come to Lord Zhou for a consultation. The village chief raised his head and glanced at Zhou Man cautiously, then immediately lowered his head and asked, free clinic? Yes, this time it was Zhou Man who spoke up. She said, free consultation is free of medical fees, and medicine fees. Man Bao glanced at the low houses outside the yard, and felt that there were no middle households or above, so he added the following words. I have to catch a flight back tomorrow. It's too late, so I might not be able to update it in time, so let me tell you in advance, don't always brush. In the end, you are all my thousands of girls and teenagers, ha 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 ha. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2885. The village chief's eyes were slightly bright, but he was still cautious, but he couldn't help but glanced at Master Song. Seeing that he was eating with his head down, he swallowed without expressing any objection, really. Man Bao nodded, of course it's true. She glanced at the other person's face and said, I see that you have a lot of problems. After you have eaten, you can take a bath and take a bath, and I will check it for you. The village chief went to take a bath in a daze, and when he came out, he was a little shivering when the magistrate and the magistrate's wife were watching him take off his clothes. Joe Man reached out and patted his back, and said with a soft smile, "Don't be nervous, relax, we won't eat you again." Joe Man touched his pulse, pressed his body again, and after asking him a few questions, he put a set of needles on him. She said, "Your body is very cold, and moxibustion is also good, but it can't be too hot. I can use a stone to soak the medicine and give you a moxibustion, and when you feel better, you can try moxibustion." Manbao stabbed him with the needle. The village chief slowly relaxed, and fell asleep on the bed. Bai Shan stood aside and watched, suddenly asked softly, "How many people in Zioa village can cook salt?" "There aren't a few, so." The village chief didn't finish his sentence, but his face changed greatly after he reacted. Bai Shan looked down at him and said, "What are you nervous about? This county won't check whether or not to cook salt in private. But what this county is curious about is, who sent you to learn to cook salt? This skill should not be anyone." "All right." The village chief was dripping with cold sweat, but he didn't dare to move because of the needles in his back. The needle that could have relaxed him instantly turned into a thorn. He swallowed, lowered his head under Bai Shan's gaze and said, "The county magistrate Lu sent us here, saying that we should learn how to cook salt. We can also work in the salt works in the future." "Bai Shan, a new salt field?" The village chief lowered his head and responded with a hum. Bai Shan nodded and asked, "So there are people in the village who can cook salt? If a new salt field opens, will you be able to use it immediately?" The village chief was refreshed and immediately said, "Yes, yes, many young people in our village have worked in the salt field for a long time, and have already learned to cook salt." As if he was afraid that Bai Shan would be gone, he immediately said, "Sir, we still know where we can chop down large timber. There is a mountain about 8 miles away from our village, and the wind was against it, and the trees on that mountain were not affected. You can go over there and chop wood and come back to cook salt." Seeing him so active, Bai Shan is very satisfied. Sure enough, in order to make money and live a good life, it is natural to work harder. "Bai Shandao, I will make a thorough plan. You will first give me the list of people who cook salt. Also, these words are out of my mouth and into your ears, and you must not tell them to a third person, not even your wife and children." The village chief couldn't help but look at Joe Man who was standing beside him. Bai Shan said, "She is not the third person." Village head. Bai Shan was particularly satisfied with the results of the conversation tonight, and Joe Man nodded and left. Seeing him leave, the village chief breathed a sigh of relief. Man Bao didn't leave. After looking at the needles on his body, he gave him a different acupuncture method. The village chief's nervousness was not relieved much. Man Bao could only pull out all the needles for him, comforting him. "Don't be afraid, Baixian is very good." "Village chief, he's your husband, so naturally you said so." After Man Bao returned to the room, he complained to Bai Shan, "Why are you scaring my patient?" Bai Shan hurriedly pinched her shoulders and beat her back. "I really didn't have a plan. At that time, I felt a little weird. He was too sleepy and relaxed at the time, so I couldn't help but ask." Man Bao tilted his head. "Weird? Where's the weirdness? Don't you think their salt is a bit bitter? It's different from official salt." Man Bao stared. "When did you go to their salt shaker to eat salt?" "Bai Shan, I didn't go to the salt shaker to eat salt. Didn't the chicken soup and vegetables put salt tonight?" he said. "Even if you are entertaining distinguished guests, people's families will be very restrained when adding salt to cooking, and tonight their chicken soup is a little salty. Maybe it's because it's near the sea, and the locals have a heavier taste." Bai Shan shook his head. "You forgot, I was walking around the village by the sea for a few days, and there is a salt field there, and the salt is not as generous as their families, and their salt is slightly different from the official salt. Man Bao pondered for a while and found no difference. It was salty, but it was the same as when they accidentally put too much salt in their dishes. She said confidently, "I think you feel wrong. That dish is the same as my second sister-in-law accidentally adding too much salt to cooking." Bai Shan, you can't compare the second sister-in-law's cooking skills with other people's cooking skills. Even if you add more salt, it won't be so much. He said confidently, and doesn't the fact prove that someone in the village can cook salt? Man Bao was choked and stopped talking for a while. When he woke up the next morning, Bai Shan dragged Zhou Man around to the village chief and asked him, "Do you cook salt at home in your village, or do you cook it together?" After successfully seeing the change in the other's face and stammering, Bai Shan Ke did not continue to scare him, but said, "Let's go, we will accompany you to go around the village, let the sick people come to see the doctor today, and we will go to other places. Turn around." Bai Shan and Zhou Man walked around the village, and when they came back, they were followed by a lot of dubious women and some children who joined in the fun. Zhou Man asked Zibing and Juyu to take out her medicine box and treated them in the yard. Bai Shan just took a look and left with the village chief and Dong Xian Wei Song's chief clerk. People in the village can stand in front of Zhou Man to see a doctor, and most of them have some minor ailments, such as stomachache, headache, cough, and some fever, which seem to be very common. Manbao can give them needles as long as they can, and for some serious ones, they will be given medicinal herbs. But Manbao took a woman's hand and looked at it for himself, and asked, "Do you have these corroded marks on your legs?" "Yes," the woman simply rolled up her trouser legs to show Zhou Man, not caring at all about the people around her. "Many people have this thing, so there is nothing to be avoided." Zhou Man looked carefully, pressed the button and asked, "Is it itchy?" She said, "Sometimes it's itchy, sometimes it's not itchy, and sometimes it's not itchy." Zhou Man nodded, gently scraped off a layer of skin flakes with his fingernails, wrapped it in paper, and washed his hands after putting it away, and then came back and said to her, "Your stomach hurts because of the cold, I'll give you a set of acupuncture, and I'll give you 2 medicines, and you'll be fine, but you should avoid cold water in the future, especially before and after menstruation. You must not go into the sea to touch cold water." The woman smiled indifferently and said, "Madam, we always have to eat, what can we eat if we don't go to the sea? It's too particular about anything that doesn't touch cold water." See you in the next chapter at 8 p.m. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2886. Manbao had no idea of not eating minced meat, and knew that their condition was limited, so he said, "If you can reduce the exposure to cold water, you will reduce it?" Everyone knows that women can't touch cold water when they are confinement, but in fact, women who are susceptible to cold have a lifetime of exposure. Zongda should try to avoid cold water as much as possible, let alone soak in sea water like you. She said, "I won't say anything from afar. I'll just ask you a close question. What is the age of the longest-lived woman in your village? How old is the long-lived woman who doesn't go to the sea, but just goes to the ground to farm? They must live longer than you, and when they are older, they generally suffer less sin than you." The women stopped talking as soon as they heard it. Those who lived by the sea were all envious of the people on the land. They felt that they had fields and land, and that they were born to live better than them. The wish of many fishermen's families is to fish more to make money, and then go to the land to buy a few better fields. Since then, they will leave the sea and never fish again. Seeing that they listened to the advice, Manbao's face looked better. The people in the village basically depend on being sick, so it is not obvious on the surface, but there are not many problems, especially if they are still hungry and cold, they have more problems. When Bai Shan came back, Zhou Man only saw half of the people. The village chief greeted everyone with an excited face to prepare lunch for them. Man Bao also stopped work to rest, looked at the excited village chief, and then looked at Song Zizhu, who was not looking very well, turned his head and asked Bai Shan, "What is this? Already? Bai Shandao, I have decided to restart the new salt farm here. Today we went to see it again, and we all think that we can go to work by building some stoves." Man Bao asked, "Do you cook salt?" Bai Shan raised his eyebrows after hearing her question. "Is there any other way besides boiling salt?" Man Bao glanced at him, got up and went back to the house, and after a while he took out a thin book and gave it to him. There are several salt making methods in it. We can also use the salt drying method, other methods cannot be done under our current conditions. Bai Shan took it and found that it was a book without a head and tail. It should be a book with a lot of paper torn away. He was not surprised by this situation. Head and tail, and things in the middle will be lost. He looked up and looked around, and saw that the village chief was busy in the kitchen himself, while Director Song was sulking behind the fence. Lieutenant Dong Xian was talking to him in a low voice. Except for Daji, no one paid attention to them. Bai Shan lowered his voice and asked, "Is this from my little father-in-law?" Man Bao didn't nod his head, but he didn't shake his head in denial. Bai Shan sighed, "My little father-in-law is so kind to me." Man Bao ignored him and said, "You should take a look first. Some of the words above are unclear, and I don't know if Bihai County is suitable. You should try it first." Bai Shan nodded. When I opened the book in the yard, it seemed that although it was broad daylight, the room was still very dark, so it would be better to be refreshed in the yard. He was so open and upright, so naturally no one would join in the fun and ask him what books he was reading, and Master Song was worried about other things, so he didn't come over. Bai Shan thought about it all night, and called the village chief excitedly the next day, "Let the young men hold hoes and shovels and other things, and we will try to build salt fields today." The village chief was stunned and said, "Sir, we haven't cut the firewood yet, we have to cut the firewood and come back to dry." Bai Shan said excitedly, "We don't need to cook salt anymore. I have come up with a new method for making salt. Let's try this one first." The village chief's lips trembled, and he was speechless for a while. Master Song, who came over, was also stunned, then his eyes lit up, and he immediately became excited. He leaned over and asked, "Municipal Bai, you just said that you want to try a new method of making salt without boiling salt." Bai Shan smiled and said, "Didn't Master Song say today that there are not many trees around here, and the firewood is not enough? I thought about it, and I think what you said makes sense. Mountains and forests are also the property of the imperial court. We can't ignore other creatures and destroy wood in order to cook salt," he said. "So I plan to change the method of making salt." The village chief said quickly, "Sir, we don't have to cut down the trees nearby, we can go to a farther place to cut it. Are you afraid that there will be no trees in this endless mountain forest?" When Master Song heard the words, he turned his head and reprimanded him, "Do you belong to your Zioa village in all the mountains and forests in the world? It's not a problem for the trees nearby, but if you also cut down the trees in the far places, it will cause conflicts and troubles. When a dispute arises, can you afford these losses?" The village chief is clumsy, and because the identity of the other party is naturally suppressed, he can't answer at all, so he can only look at Bai Shan anxiously. "Sir, if we chop down trees, we will plant them according to the rules, and we will not destroy the mountains." Bai Shan hadn't spoken yet. Song Master Booker continued, "You sound good. It takes 10 years to build a tree and 100 years to cultivate people. It takes you so much work to cut down a tree, but it takes at least 10 years for a tree to grow, or even for a longer time. It takes so much fuel wood for you to cook salt. Can you keep up with replanting?" The village chief blushed and said, Then there are also many trees cut down in the Longqi. Can you compare with Longqi? How old are the salt fields in Longqi? Do you know how much salt they can cook for the imperial court every year? The village chief's face was purple, and he lowered his head and stopped talking. Bai Shan said slowly, "What are you arguing about? My method is an excellent method I just found out in a book. We don't use firewood this time, but use the sun to bask in it." He shook his head and said, "If you want to say that the most yang thing in the world, it cannot be compared with the sun in the sky, so I think the salt produced by the sun will definitely be better than the salt that is boiled." The village chief was about to cry. Hearing this was unreliable. He was also simple, and said directly, "Sir, the sun is so powerful that it can't cook rice into rice. This boiled sea water produces salt. Can only rely on firewood." But Bai Shan said, "This county is the magistrate of Bihai County, and there are indeed many considerations. You can't destroy the mountains and forests just to boil the salt, so I must try this method." The village chief said, "What if you can't try it?" Bai Shan said, "If you don't try it once, try it twice. If you can't get it out in 1 year, it will take 2 years. Okay, let the master go to the salt field with me, and the stove doesn't need to be built." Seeing that the village chief's face was grey and defeated, Bai Shan said to him, "Don't worry, the Yamen side should pay you a lot of wages. 12 pennies a day, according to the treatment at the Longqi salt field." Master Song opened his mouth to object, but thinking that Bai Shan had finally changed his mind, he choked back again, fearing that he would think about boiling salt again. Master Song still couldn't believe it, but Bai Shan just took people to the beach, stopped and walked around, and finally chose a place to gather the sand on the beach and dig out the salt field. And the salt field in the distance was left alone. See you at 11 o'clock. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2887. For 2 days in a row, Bai Shan didn't mention building the stove again. Instead, he asked the village chief to lead the villagers out of 3 or 4 salt fields by the sea, and drove them directly into the sea to dry. Master Song stayed with him for 2 days and felt that Bai Shan was a waste of toss, but seeing that he didn't look back after hitting the south wall, he rarely expressed any objection. However, the seaside was too sunny, so the master clerk Song said to Bai Shan, "Sir, there are still many things to deal with in the county office. Why don't I go back to the county office first?" "No need," Bai Shan said, "there's a county chief over there. The new salt farm is left to the village chief. Let's go to the next village." Master Song, "Sir, let them handle the salt field. What if they secretly cook salt?" Bai Shan disagreed, "Private salt is a big sin. Their families are all here, and I have already opened a salt farm here. How could they not think about it like that? I haven't figured out who will manage the salt field. I'll talk about it when I figure it out. Anyway, the sun won't be able to dry the salt for a while, so let's keep it for now." Master Song. The village chief on the side was heartbroken. However, Bai Shan found him privately, circled several places for him, and said, "I've been there in the past 2 days. These places have the highest salt content, and some even have brine in the ground, so your salt fields must be dug from here to here. If there is salt brine, it will be dissolved and dried in the salt field." The village chief was startled and asked quickly, "If you have salt brine, you can use it by stirring it with water and boiling it again. Why do you have to dissolve it in the salt field?" Until now, the village chief does not believe that the sun can dry out the salt. Bai Shan insisted, "Listen to me right, now you dig the salt fields to dry the salt first, and I will come back after a while." Although the village chief was worried about the future of the village, the wages were paid by Bai Shan, and he already knew about the secret cooking of salt in the village, so the village chief did not dare not listen to him. He could only sigh in response. Seeing that he obeyed, Bai Shan took people to other villages with confidence to start inspections. At present, it is mainly about spring planting. Bai Shan also took a look at the situation of wheat. Man Bao dragged a carload of medicinal materials and followed him all the way to the free clinic. When she finally used up the carload of medicinal materials, they went back to the county town. The already black Wei Dong and director Song became even darker, but Bai Shan and Zhou Man had been wearing hats all the time, and maybe they were born, they didn't get much tan, which made director Song jealous. As soon as he entered the city, Master Song subconsciously wanted to follow them back to the county office, but the servants of his family ran over and said, "Master Lang, the old lady is unwell." When Song Master heard this, he immediately said, "By county magistrate, the next official should go home to see the old mother, the county government office." Bai Shan nodded immediately and said, "Go, there are us at the county office, ask the old lady hello for me, and let her take care of her health." Master Song responded and immediately picked up his robe and hurried home with his servants. Man Bao watched him run away, and said, "I wanted to be polite. If the illness is not good, I can go out to the clinic." Bai Shan said, "Don't scare him now, let's go back to." Man Bao nodded. The county office is very quiet, and it looks very peaceful on the surface. When the two people entered the county office, Fang Xiancheng immediately greeted them, and the three went to the office to talk. Lieutenant Dong Xian looked around and went to find his subordinates. When his subordinates saw him, they said with a look of horror, "Dong Xianwei, you are finally back. Do you know what happened these days?" Wei Dong asked calmly, "What's the matter?" The other party lowered his voice and said, "Fang Xiancheng took advantage of the absence of the county magistrate, you and the chief clerk of Song to check the accounts of the salt field, but it turned out that something was wrong, and immediately took the manager Song from the salt field. Not only that, the household, the two clerks on the other side of the room have also been taken down, and they are all in prison at this time." He wanted to cry without tears and said, "It would be better if you came back half a day earlier. This morning, Fang Xiancheng took us to copy the three people's homes." Wei Dong asked curiously, "Did you copy something out?" "I copied it out. There are a lot of valuable satin and silk cloth, and several sacks of copper coins. Not to mention that Steward Song is only in his early 30s, even if he works for another 30 years, he can't earn it with his salary and the family's fields. There are so many things, now he can't tell the origin of the things, and the accounts are wrong, unless the magistrate is kind, or he is dead." Lieutenant Dong said, "The magistrate Bai will not be gracious. You should let them die." Most of the work was done by the magistrate Bai and the county magistrate Fang after discussing it together. Although Bai Shan uses Fang Xiancheng more than him now, Wei Dong is the one who has stayed with Bai Shan the most since he came to the county seat. He has been watching how the county magistrate handles local affairs and relations. To be honest, although he was a bit aggressive, he had to say that he did so much faster than the county magistrate Lu did when he slowly laid out and then took power. Of course, the result must be clear. If Bai Shan wins, then Bihai County government will be his word from now on. If Bai Shan loses, those companies will not only be the same as before, they will even be stronger than before. The operation of the county magistrate for these years will be destroyed in one fell swoop. But Dong Xianwei was not in a hurry at all. He said to his subordinates, "Stop talking about these gossips later. We just follow orders and do things. We can do whatever the boss tells us to do, you know." The subordinate nodded blankly and asked, "Don't you remind Master Song about this?" He remembered that their boss had a good relationship with Director Song. Just as the thought flashed, their head was slapped on the head by their boss, and Wei Dong said angrily, "Do we need to remind us? People have gone home early, we are a group of yeomen who manage public security, protect and cure them. The common people, protect the adults, don't rape people and make trouble, don't worry about the rest. Subordinate, oh. Dong Xianwei sent his subordinates away, turned his head and glanced at the office over there, and couldn't help sighing. It seemed that the county was going to be in chaos again. I don't know who suffered this time, or both sides. It's a pity that he doesn't have the ability to be a fisherman, otherwise it would be too profitable to be a fisherman at this time. In the office, Bai Shan flipped through the ledger to see that Fang Xiancheng was very considerate. He deliberately marked the problematic accounts in red and marked them on the side, so he could understand at a glance. He handed the booklet to Zhou Man and asked, "Only one steward?" Fang Xiancheng said, "Sir, Bihai County has to hand over a certain amount of salt to the Qingzhou prefect's office every season. If there are too many people arrested, the sea salt cannot be boiled, and then you will be charged." Bai Shan said, "If you don't arrest them, will they be able to boil the salt on time?" This. Bai Shan said simply, "Arrest all the people who can find out the problem now, and then interrogate them. All the people who ask questions will be arrested, and then we will investigate. See you tomorrow."